Hey, it's Tim.
And it's Amy from Go With Less. We're glad you're here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about travel hacking for beginners. In this video, we're going to share 10 tips to get started with travel hacking. We hope you'll stay tuned.
So this is a disclaimer that we say in any video, anytime we're talking about travel hacking, we would never, ever suggest that anybody gets involved in travel hacking if you don't pay your credit card bills in full every month and pay them on time. So obviously, if you don't do that, then the interest that you pay or the fees that come along with missing payments and things like that is going to far outweigh any benefit you might get from travel hacking. As a matter of fact, I think the people that pay that interest and the people that pay those late fees are the people that actually fund our activities. And so, but we don't want to be in that camp. And so we would never encourage anybody to travel hack if you don't pay your bills in full.
And what we suggest is get out of debt and then travel hack.
Yep.
And if credit cards are like your Achilles heel, then this isn't something for you, and that's okay.
And something that we also suggest is we have our bills on auto pay, so it's also something that makes it easy to forget. We're all over the place. We have 30 plus credit cards, and so it's easy enough to just, oh, I forgot, especially when you have 30 of these things that you're trying to manage. And we also have some things that we might talk about in a future session where we have a lot of chase cards, and I go in and make sure that the bills are all due at the same time. So I can just go in and one fell swoop and make sure it's taken care of if I don't have things on auto pay. So there's some strategies to making sure that you're managing that and making sure that's a little easier if you have a lot of cards. So,
and I do want to mention, you don't have to have a lot of cards to have a lot of success with travel hacking. Yeah. So we do have about 35, but we are extreme travel hackers. What we really are talking to in this audience today are people who maybe have been using the same credit card for 5 or 10 years and getting points, and maybe you're taking a trip every year and that's travel hacking. You're travel hacking. We're just looking to do it at a higher level, get more points, more miles, and everyone is at a different level. So we are full-time travelers. We have a need for a lot of points and miles. We are in a hotel right now, a fabulous hotel that was as a result of travel hacking, a really fabulous hotel. Hopefully you can see some of it in the back in San Miguel de Allende. But yeah, so you can just do a couple cards and still get an enormous amount of value from this. So if the idea of like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to do that, you don't have to. So don't tune out. Okay.
Far and away, sign-up bonuses are the best way to earn points and miles. And so I traveled for business for many years, and I would fly 100,000 plus miles a year, predominantly on United. And it was a lot of flying to earn 100,000 miles. I can sign up for one credit card and get that many miles, and it takes me basically 90 days, and I have that 100,000 miles in my account after just doing spending that we would normally do. So we don't do any, sometimes we do things that are a little out of the box, but for the most part, we're just spending like we always spend like we normally spend. We might move that spending around, but we don't do anything to try and spend more than we normally would because we're working on a sign-up bonus. But again, this is far and away the best way to earn points and miles.
The way that we look at it, if you are not currently working on a sign-up bonus, you are leaving money on the table. We know that ourselves. Sometimes there's reasons why we might not be working on a new card. Maybe we are over our applications, or maybe there's not a great offer out there. But we know that that this is not only is it the best way to earn points, but that it's so superior that all other ways are completely lacking.
And just another comment here, if you don't know what a sign-up bonus is, so typically when you go to apply for a new card, they're going to be offering some number of points associated with you sign up for the card, you get approved for the card, they're going to offer you 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 points with the sign up, assuming you meet some minimum amount of spending. And that minimum amount of spending can be anywhere from $1,000 to $15,000. Typically, it's in a 90-day window is what that usually looks like, but it varies from time to time. So that's what a sign up. When we're talking about sign up, you might also see this SUB sign up bonus. If you look at other travel hacking sites or something like that, and you see SUB, that's what they're talking about. Also, something to be aware of is you might hear people talking about having stickers on their credit cards to make sure that they're optimizing the dollars that they're spending for gas or groceries or whatever. We actually do that too. But if you are doing the right thing in our mind, and you are signing up for new cards with some amount of regularity, for the most part, the extra spending or the extra points you're going to get from that they call it bonus spend, then you're going to be better off. You're not going to have to worry about those stickers on your credit cards. You're always going to be putting everything that you're doing on a new card that you have in your wallet if you're doing the sign up bonus thing I'm going to say right in quotes.
And how we look at it, Tim, we've done a whole bunch of videos about this in the past. I'll put actually a video up top about this, but the way that we look at it is have a line of sight for your spending bonus to be met before you even get the card. So don't say, oh, it's a $10,000, $5,000 spending, a sign up bonus, spending requirement. And I'm sure I'll just figure it out. That's not the way that we're going to recommend that you do this, because you may need to be spending money that you weren't planning to spend to hit it, or even worse, miss the sign up bonus. So have a line of sight of how am I going to make this? And as Tim had kind of alluded to, sometimes we bring our spending forward. So we pay for our storage unit 6 months or 12 months in advance. We pay for our mail service. We put down a whole bunch of money maybe for our storage when we know we're going to be spending money there. We pay for our health insurance in a full year up front. Things like that. We often do a lot of prepaying for our cruises. We have 2 more cruises this year. We pay for them like kind of with what do we need to be spending on credit cards, and we don't pay more than we need to because we may need the rest of it for another sign up bonus. So once we hit the sign up bonus, we don't keep going.
Here's another example of so at the end of the year, typically we're signing up for 2 to 3 cards at a given time, because we have a lot of spending that just happens to come at the end of the year / beginning of the new year. And so you want to sort of time your signups around when you know you're going to have some big spending.
Taxes.
So taxes maybe is a time we're going to have some big spending. Health insurance for us is big spending. Our storage is big spending if we pay it all up front. So you want to time your spending around some of these things like that.
Time your card sign up. So you say, hey, I need to get, I don't know, I'm doing a new kitchen, get a new card. We just had, so many of our viewers know that we had just had a really big tragedy in our family. Tim lost his mother suddenly. We needed to spend many, many, many thousands of dollars for a probate attorney, for a funeral. We signed up for 3 new credit cards as a result. So these were things we're going to pay for anyway. So why not get a credit card and take care of that right away? They were able to get them to us very quickly, and we were able to meet sign up bonuses like with one thing, like boom, boom, boom. Sign up bonus one after another. Okay, number 3, set a threshold every new card must meet. We have a very active member of our Go With Less community. I call her Chef Sherry. Chef Sherry, a year ago, had signed up for all of the store credit cards. She was so embarrassed when she came to me. She's like, I can't sign up for anything because I've signed up for Cabela's and Home Depot and things like that. And now I can't qualify for any new cards. So I said, that absolutely breaks my heart. And we have all, if you've been doing this for a little while, you probably have done this too, where we used to have the days where you get a free t-shirt back 20 years ago for signing up for a card. Those days are done. We have a threshold of, after all fees are paid, $500 in value that we will use. So not something
complete that thought. Oh. So $500 of net value. So in other words, if we paid $1,000 for a credit card annual fee, we would want to have $1,500 worth of value we would be getting for that card in year 1. And that's an extreme example. If we paid $100 in an annual fee for a credit card, we would want to make sure that we're getting $600 worth of value out of that card year 1. Yes. We'll also talk about in a bit about sort of ongoing value for cards and when you might want to cancel a card or keep a card and why you might want to do that. But so this is a threshold that we have. $500. If we can't net that year 1, we will not sign up for a new card. And
that is black and white.
That's black and white for us. And for what Amy means here is you might have a different metric. You might say that I'm not going to sign up for a card unless my net value is going to be $300 or my net value is going to be $700 or whatever. But for us, this is just a metric that we have in place. This isn't anything that we read about or see. This is just something that we have for ourselves.
And we are going to suggest that you do not sign up for those store credit cards because you're only allowed to get so many credit cards in a year or 2 years. And then it prohibits you from getting other cards. That's why it matters. So if you're at Home Depot buying $500 of paint and they offer you 10% off for a Home Depot card, that $50, that would be a hard pass.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and we have 0 store credit cards.
Those store cards, what's called a hard pull. So they will pull your credit, and those pulls on your credit, there are X number of those that different banks are going to allow in a year. And so you don't want to have those dings against your credit or you're not going to be able to get the good things that you really want in terms of cards.
Yes.
And maybe if you're going to spend $10,000 at Home Depot and you're going to get a good chunk of money back for something, that might be a good reason to sign up for one of those cards, maybe $500. Then that would be a good reason to sign up for that card, but otherwise probably no.
Yes. Okay. Number 4 is 2-player mode. I know that a lot of people in our community are couples. You don't have to be a couple to do this. Tim did it very successfully before me, but it does help. And so have both people totally engaged. So one person is working on a sign up bonus and the other person is also working on that sign up bonus, the same card. We very, very rarely do authorized users.
You have to have a really good reason to be an authorized user. And there are some. But as a rule of thumb, we don't add each other as authorized users unless there's some reason to do it. I just added my daughter as an authorized user to my Capital One Venture X, and we had a good reason for that. Number one, she's not going to get approved for that card. And number two, it gave her access to Priority Pass lounges, and it costs nothing. And so that's maybe a good reason to add authorized users. But as a rule, if you are added as an authorized user, that might eliminate you from signing up for the card for yourself. And that means that you're going to walk away maybe from points that you might want for signing up for that card on your own.
Yeah. So say we're talking just as a hypothetical, we have 90-day sign up bonuses. So we have, so Tim has the card in the first quarter and we're both spending all of our money on that card. Thankfully, we're together 24/7, so that makes it pretty easy. And then the next 3 months comes and Amy is getting a new card, and the next 3 months and Tim is getting a card. So that way we are maximizing all of the opportunities and not doing too many hard credit pulls, not getting too many cards, not for the organization, just because we want to improve our chance of approval.
Or having too much of a requirement for spend. So if we signed up for 3 credit cards at once and we've got to spend $12,000 in 90 days, we may or may not be able to do that.
We've done it before,
depending on the timing of the year and sort of what's going on.
Yeah, last year we talked about meeting, I think it was $21,000 to spend. So we had a huge reason for a lot of spend, and we got 3 cards last year this time.
Another comment about this, there's a lot of people in the travel hacking space where one of the players is very engaged and the other really wants nothing to do with it. So you have to sometimes talk your significant other into being involved. And that involvement may be as little as, you're going to let me use your credit information to sign you up for cards, and I'm going to make sure that I manage all of the minutia of making sure we're going to meet the minimum spend and things like this. But it's just so that's a common thing, that somebody is more into playing the travel hacking game than the other when this 2-player mode is coming together. But this is just a term you might see also in the travel hacking space.
And so where Tim is kind of quiet in the Go With Less Facebook community, where I am extremely active, he is doing this travel hacking stuff. So he thankfully takes care of all of that management. He's like, here's the card we're doing. He lets me know, we kind of a conversation about it. So I'm still engaged, but and I could do this presentation without him, especially because it's the basics. But when it gets real in depth, that is all him. And organization is his jam.
I love a spreadsheet.
Yes, he sure does. Okay, so number 5 is kind of related, business cards. Now, we're surprised at how many people don't realize that they qualify for business cards. If you rent your home on Airbnb, if you are a nomad and you rent your primary residence out, these are businesses. So you don't just need a traditional career business to have a business card. And there are some sweet offers right now on business cards, and there's often sweet offers on business cards. And sometimes you have the ability to get more cards because you have this other like kind of pool because of your business.
Yeah, and your business doesn't necessarily doesn't necessarily have to be even really generating a lot of income, as long as you're honest on your application about what's going on with your business. If you have a brand new business and you're selling golf clubs on eBay and you sold 5 in the last year, as long as you're sort of honest about that in the application process, you do have to have income. So they will ask about your household income. So you would have to have income to qualify for this. But when it asks specifically about your business income, as long as you're honest, I make $1,000 a year or whatever, then this is something you would want to pay attention to. Business cards offer a ton of value. As a matter of fact, right now Chase has something going on with their ink cards. I think they're either 2 or 3 that are offering 90,000 points, which is at least $900 worth of value. These cards have no annual fee. So all you have to do is meet the minimum spend requirements, and you're going to have $900 worth of money to spend and Chase Ultimate Reward points. So
we got 2 of them just now.
We just got 2 in the last 3 months. And so this is this is something that a lot of people might think, business cards aren't for me. this might be a reason to open a business, because there's so much great value that comes with these business cards. So I would say you might want to pay attention to these.
And our businesses Go With Less, which is not a big money making kind of a business. So, and then we've been approved for all kinds of cards with Go With Less is our only business.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Number 6, have a strategy, but don't succumb to analysis paralysis. So we talk about when we don't want to get too deep, but there's something called transferable points. So our favorite points of all are through the bank Chase. Now Chase has relationships with some hotels and some airlines, and those are also Chase cards. And you might get United points through a Chase card. I don't even know if United and Chase.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chase does Southwest cards. Your benefit is Southwest points. Now, what we really like is flexible points, and Chase Ultimate Rewards. These are called transferable points. They're extremely flexible, and Chase isn't the only one. Amex has membership rewards. Capital One has rewards. Citibank has thank you points. So there's all kinds of programs. We think that for us, what we spend our travel dollars on, Chase is where we really, that's our favorite. Chase Ultimate Rewards.
Yeah, and so we'll talk about this strategy just a bit. So I'm going to talk about these transferable points. So as a matter of fact, if you're starting in travel hacking, I would suggest that you are focused on one of these transferable programs, and that is going to be your initial focus. Probably it's going to be Chase Ultimate Rewards would be our suggestion, and you might have a different opinion, but because of the travel partners that they have and the value that we get from their points and the ways that you can earn these points, we value those the most. American Express has Amex reward points. Those are also very valuable and a little easy to come by. Capital One has a new series of points. I don't know what the miles are called. I think it maybe just miles, but the Venture X card has a transferable program. That's a great program. And the Citibank also has a great transferable program that's called Thank You Points. So those are the 4 programs. I would focus on a card from one of those programs as a starter card for everybody here. Probably if you read a lot in the travel hacking space, it seems like everybody recommends the Chase Sapphire Preferred as the most common starter.
It's a great card.
It's a great card. There's a reason that you see that a lot. And there's also some
low
reasons
fee.
You might want to focus on Chase to start with. And there's some rules about signing up for their cards that make them, there's some good reasons to maybe start with Chase. And this is maybe a conversation for later. But when we say here, you need to have a strategy. The reason you need to have a strategy is because you don't want to go sign up for I don't know, Southwest points or Southwest credit card if Southwest isn't an airport near you or something, just because there's some great offer. And so if you don't have some strategy around what you're doing, then you just maybe might make poor decisions. You might have some points that are stranded, or it takes you a really long time to use, or that aren't the right points for you. And so you need to have a strategy, but don't overthink it, because if you overthink it, then you're not going to, inaction is your worst enemy, I think, in the travel hacking space.
That's right. And so there's so many people say like, oh, like travel hacking was better 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The best time to start travel hacking, if you aren't really into it, is today. And that analysis paralysis, if you're so overwhelmed by all the options, the bonuses and the promotions change constantly, like daily sometimes. So, and even if you had a card in mind, that might be shutting down that day and you didn't know it.
That's right. The offers. Oftentimes, as a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I think Chase had an offer on the Sapphire Preferred card that was 80,000 points. That was a phenomenal offer on the card. I signed up for that. And then I happened to be eligible at the time. And then like a month later, they came out with a 100,000 point offer. And so sometimes you can actually call the bank and talk them into giving you the extra points, but most of the time that's just it is what it is.
They don't give you advance notice.
And then this 100,000 that probably will never come around again. But everybody out there who
was waiting for more,
who missed that opportunity is thinking it's going to come back, and I don't think that'll ever come back. And so it's yeah.
Okay, and there you go. Okay, we're going to move on to number 7. Travel hacking done correctly will improve your credit score, not harm it. If you speak with enough of your friends and family, they will tell you with great passion that this will ruin your credit score. They are wrong. period. They are wrong. We've done an entire video about like what makes up your credit score and why travel hacking has only helped our credit score. So our credit scores are close to like 830, 835 out of a perfect 850. The only reason it is an 850 is because the only kind of loans that we have is through credit card, because we don't have a home, we don't have a car, we don't have a mortgage or a car loan. It would be higher if we had those things. But the way that the credit scores are determined in the U.S. Travel. So, and this is kind of like a little broad paintbrush. But one of the key metrics is how much credit do you have available to you? So having 35 credit cards, we have massive credit available to us. That's one of them. And number two, how much of that do you utilize? So if you had $400,000 of outstanding credit and you had used $400,000 worth of it, then your credit utilization would be extremely poor, making your credit score very poor. Well, because we pay off our bills every single month, ours is like tiny in the giant picture of our credit utilization. This is what makes our score so high.
Yeah, and speaking of this, and I can't remember what the rest of our deck looks like, but there's something also here when it comes to canceling credit cards. You've probably heard people talk about, I'll sign up for a card, I'll close it, and then I'll sign up for it again. That's called churning. That's really frowned upon by the banks. But there's also some good reasons to keep credit cards around, in addition to not making the banks angry with you. And that is, if you keep a card open, the age of your credit history is also a metric that makes your credit score higher. And so we do with our strategy with keeping credit cards around. If the second year after year one, and we've made our $500+ of value, we make a decision about year two and forward about the value we're going to get out of that card going forward. For instance, if we pay $100 for a hotel credit card, that's the annual fee. We're hoping that we're going to, and that comes with a free night at a hotel, then we're going to get our $100 worth out of that card. We would keep that card in our wallet. If it didn't come with some value, then that would be a reason to close that card,
downgrade.
Or to downgrade that card. That's exactly
first.
right.
So first you decide, is this worth renewing and paying a renewal fee? So if the answer is yes, great, you renew and you move on. If the answer is no, then the next step is downgrade possibility.
And these downgrade possibilities are called product changes. And so if you would product change to keep that line of credit open, and that just so you go from an annual fee card, for instance, United Airlines has a whole collection of cards, including one that doesn't have an annual fee. So if you had an annual fee card, Chase might let you downgrade to a no annual fee card. You can keep that line of credit open and keep that credit history just going forever. Something else to be aware of is that we have these 35 cards. You do have to keep some amount of spending on all these cards. And when I say some, just a few dollars annually is what we've done on all of our cards to make sure that they don't close the cards on you. The banks want you using these cards, and if you're not using them at least some minimal amount, they will close them without asking you. And so that's not something that you want to happen. So we do keep a little spending on all these cards. When we're back in the States, we do a round of we utilize our cards minimally to make sure that they don't close our cards. Ready to move on?
Yes. Number 8, don't be afraid of cards with annual fees. It may surprise some in our community to understand that two people who are fairly frugal, we spend last year $3,400 on annual fees on credit cards. And we have amazing reason to be spending that kind of money. I see when people ask in the Go With Less community about a good card, so many people will say, you don't want to pay any annual fees. We disagree very, very much. And the outsized value is with these bigger cards. So if you're looking at a zero, but there are a few exceptions. So Tim mentions this Inc. has 0 annual fees right now, these business Inc. Chase cards. And those are great. That's why I was talking about them in the group, because they are phenomenal and they are kind of outliers. But we do have $3,400 in fees. That includes 2 that are $700 each, the American Express Platinum, American Express Gold, the Capital One Venture X, $400. So all of these are big ticket cards, but we get so much out of them. And we do, and I'll tell you, we're coming up on our 2 Amex renewals, and we get a lot of value from them. Plus, we do put some value into the lounge benefits, because we love a swanky lounge. When you travel a lot, it's really nice to be able to spend time in really high-end lounges. So
the Amex card that Amy did sort of elaborate on, it's for the Platinum card. It has a $695 annual fee. And so they have perks that come along with that annual fee that we're able to effectively wipe away the annual fee using the perks that are available to us. And we see the value in that. And then these cards had huge sign-up bonuses when we signed up for them, like in the neighborhood of 150,000 points, which Amex points, we would value that at almost $3,000 worth of points that we got for just simply signing up for these cards. And so,
meeting the minimum spend.
And meeting the minimum spend.
Yeah. So if it's like, if you have the mentality of, I want a card without an annual fee, those generally aren't the best cards. So if you want to be kind of moving up in the, I guess, in your advancement in travel hacking, do not shy away from
I would
those.
say, so certainly that occasionally, and these ink cards are an example of this, and this is almost an anomaly. I would say 99% of the cards that you're going to sign up for, if you're going to get a substantial amount of points, it's going to come with an annual fee. Yeah. And then you can make a choice at the end of the year too, whether or not that annual fee, you want to pay that on an ongoing basis. But if you want to accrue a bunch of points, you're probably going to have to pay some sort of annual fee to make that work. But again, for us, it's just a net value proposition. And if we get more than $500 in net value, then we would sign up for that card.
Right. Okay. Number 9, we're going to talk a little bit about travel hacking as nomads. I know many on this call are also nomads. And so we have talked extensively about the mail service we use in Texas. It's called Escapees. I'll put a video up here all about it. We love Escapees, but they take all of our mail and deal with it for us, and they will scan it or mail it to us. If we're out of the country, we never have them mail it to us. So if we have anything that pops up in our mail, we have the outside scan, and we'll say, hey, can you open that up and let us know what's inside? So we do get our card numbers from them internationally when we're traveling. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm thinking specifically of Chase. As soon as we're approved for a card, that is available to us to add to my Apple Wallet, your Google Wallet, is it? Google Pay. I'm an Apple. He's a Google person. So great. I sign up for a new Chase card or new Capital One card, and I'm able to get into the app and add it to my wallet. And then all around the world, I would say all around Europe, in many, many places, we are able just to pass our phone and pay so easily. So we made that $21,000 of spending I mentioned last year. We made that happen with no cards in hand.
And this was at the end of last year, basically from October through January. We made this $21,000 to spend having without a single card in our hands, like Amy said.
And that wasn't even on Apple Wallet. That was even just online stuff, actually.
That's right. Yeah. The way it works is that our credit cards show up in Texas. We know they're there because we have a scanning service. And then we go in and say, I usually know that's a credit card in that envelope. They don't scan the inside of the envelope until we say, please scan this. They'll do that. And they know that what the information we need off credit cards. So they'll show us the front and the back. So we have all the information if we need that, or we can actually have somebody go and give us the information. So they do a phenomenal job of sharing this information with us. And so once we have that number and all the information on the card, we can start making online purchases immediately. And then, like Amy said, this summer we were in Europe and we had this Chase thing, and we were actually able to use our cards at the grocery store and other places everywhere immediately once we were approved for the card. So that was, and we also had that with an Amex card as well, that we could immediately add to our wallet and start spending. So that's one way that we've been able to make things go as nomads. Yeah. I know sometimes people have their mail go to friends or things like that, and their friends do basically what our mail service does. That's an option, but we haven't had a problem meeting our minimum spend, not even having our cards in hand.
And what we're talking about here is that we're out of the country. So if we were in the United States, we just have them, our mail service, send us our mail. We're talking about when we're out of the country. It's not something that you have to stop travel hacking. And then there's a second thing, is that one company, Capital One, has been the only one who has balked at our escapees. We have used this for voting, for absolutely everything. All other banks, all the IRS, everything has been fine. The one exception is Capital One wants and it is a real address, but they want more of a real address. So if you're going to be signing up for any kind of Capital One cards, just like a asterisk is, you have to put that to like a person's home. And if it's not your home, maybe a family member or a trusted person's home, maybe to consider that if you're doing Capital One.
And this strangely just seems to be something to do with new applications. So when we moved to Texas from Colorado, I had a Capital One venture card at the time. They let me change my address on the card to our mailing service in Texas and didn't give me any grief about that change. But Amy tried to sign up for the Venture X when it first came out, and she got denied. It was a huge hassle. They sent us through all these weird hoops that we ultimately couldn't make happen for them. But about 6 months later, I signed up for the card and I was able to get approved but I had my mom's address in Texas as a physical address and our mail service as a mailing address, and that seemed to make them happy. So, but it is sometimes tricky. So it's not just
with Capital One. So as far as
so far, that's all we've seen.
Yeah, we've been using them for 3 full years.
Yeah.
So we've been nomads 3 years now. I guess actually our anniversary, I think, is like tomorrow, our 3-year anniversary. Isn't that wild? Okay, number 10, get your next card immediately. So if you have been kind of thinking like, oh, I really should get on this. Yes. And if you are somebody who maybe you're working and you're like, I see a lot of travel in my future, so you'll hear in this space, if you're in it enough, people will talk about that these points devalue. It doesn't matter. Yes, they do devalue, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have them. And how we look at it is to get cards. So where we have been really high on these transferable points, because we have so many cards, we really like the idea of points in a lot of different programs. So we have not only in all the transferable partners that Tim had mentioned, but we have them in Hilton and in IHG and in Marriott and in United and Southwest and in British Airways and Iberia and all over the place. And the reason why is because when a really, really killer deal comes out, we need those points there now. So the time when you said, oh, that's a really good deal, I'm going to sign up for the card and in 90 days, I'll get the card. No, like that's not when you do that. You do it now, like with future thinking that you will be using those points. So I'm going to mention just real kind of quickly, like here's an extraordinary situation where we are here. I'm going to exit the screen share because we're done with the 10. So we are here in this fantastic hotel. Hold on, let me just get back to. Okay, so we are here in this very 5-star resort in San Miguel de Allende. I had posted this in the Go With Less group. I was looking for where we have an amazing point redemption. We're going to Bangkok on Sunday on 60,000 points, business class from Mexico. That is now being offered at over 600,000 points for the one way. I saw it at 60,000 points and we jumped on it. We could do that. Or you
could pay cash, $9,000.
Oh, actually, I think it was like $18,000. It was something completely ridiculous. But because we had the points in our account, we were able to make that instantaneously. And I put it in the group. A lot of people said, oh, I need to move, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Have the points ready so that when these come, you're ready. I also put up about this situation. So because we had this flight, we just picked a date and we're going to Bangkok. And so it turns out we had a week to kill after a house sit in Mexico. And I was looking at Hyatt. We like Hyatt. I was looking at Hyatt to say, where are some good points redemptions? And I saw that there was this category 1, which is the lowest. It is worth, a category 1 is worth about $75 of points. And they were building a brand new hotel in a beautiful town next to a hotel that's $1,000 a night. And I'm like, well, that seems like a crazy deal. I'm going to go book that at the category 1 price. Lo and behold, a week later, they're like, yep, that was a mistake. We're going to honor it, but it's now a category 6. It's now, so when I paid 5,000 Hyatt points, it was then 2 weeks later offered at 35,000 points a night. Well, fast forward to now, and the hotel is not ready. And they really did the right thing by us, Hyatt. They said, okay, we don't have any hotels in San Miguel de Allende. We are going to put you up at one of the nicest hotels in town. Our room is an $800 a night room. We have it for a whole week and we don't have to pay a single penny. And it's not
only that, they gave us our points back.
Oh yeah, they gave us our points back.
So we spent about $400 worth of points on the property where we were going to stay. And they said, yeah, you just get those points back. So
yeah, so this is a $4,500 a week stay. That is an outlier, but we have another one of those on Sunday with our trip to Bangkok. And so, and that is because I didn't have to start earning Hyatt points. We had as a matter of fact, we had the Hyatt points, but also Hyatt points are extremely easy to transfer from Chase. So, and it happens pretty much instantaneously. So even that's where transferable points can be really nice, is that maybe you don't need them in so many programs. That is a lot more to manage. Again, we do this full time, so we know we'll use them, but that way, transfer them fast, like make these kind of decisions pretty quickly so that you are maximizing, especially when these, like they call them mistake fares, and sometimes they're honored, sometimes they're not. We've had kind of like 2 like that were honored recently.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. This was done in the Go With Less Facebook group. Our family over there, we love you guys. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks, everybody.